Hello and welcome to another unpacking tutorial. Today we will unpack a .NET assembly, and this is our sample today. It's also actual malware we will see soon. We will use the tools DnSpy and MegaDumper to do this. What's awesome about this is most .NET assemblies can be unpacked using only these tools and nothing else. That's because .NET is like Java compiled to an intermediate representation. In case of Java, it's called bytecode. In case of .NET, it's called a Microsoft Intermediate Language, and this preserves a lot of information and makes it possible to decompile the code so that it is easily readable for us. Of course, people will use packing, they will use obfuscation to make life hard, but it's still easier than handling native files. Often it is. Okay, how do you know that this is a .NET assembly? Well, you can open up the file in a PE parser like PE Studio. So let's do this. And here it already tells you that it found the .NET signature. It says here C#, but actually it does not have to be C#. The assembly does not save any information of the .NET language that was actually used, so you cannot know what was used in the first place. But yeah, that's a description of the signature. I guess this is taken from PEID because they have the same description. Alright, PE Studio. Now, how do we know it's a .NET assembly if we didn't have this signature? Well, firstly, you could look at the imports. There's this, the typical import for .NET assemblies. It's the mscori.dll, and that's the main execution runtime which is necessary to run a .NET assembly. And a more reliable hint, and the most reliable hint in my opinion, is in the directories section. There you will find here it's called com runtime, sometimes it's also called .NET runtime or CLR runtime. If this directory exists, then it means this is a .NET assembly. That's where the .NET section starts, so to speak. Yeah, PE Studio has some other cool features like indicators to indicate if it's malware or not, and I especially like the strings because they are sorted per default by blacklisted strings first, and if you have large files like several megabytes, gigabytes even, this will just show you the interesting stuff first, and you don't want to scroll through all of the strings that such a large file has. So now, if I didn't knew that this file, whether this file was malicious or not, I would already be suspicious seeing this name. And furthermore, you can also see that here are typical strings for .NET. System reflection is a part of .NET. So is system runtime compiler services, and this is the Visual Basic library. Well, I previously told you it does not save any information of the .NET language that was used, but if someone imports a Visual Basic library, it's more likely that they actually used Visual Basic for their assembly. So I think I would take a bet that this was written in Visual Basic. Now, I can already see that this is probably packed and dynamically unpacked because it uses system reflection in combination with a load, and with this you can use, well, let's say a byte representation of an assembly that you maybe had packed in the file, and load it into memory and then run it. So that's already very interesting. The version information also contained this random like file name, and that's suspicious. It's also suspicious that it doesn't contain any better, or well, let's say reasonable descriptions, like the file description, it's not there, and there's also no company name, nothing, no copyright. I don't think that this looks in any way legitimate. Okay. Now, I also look at those files in a hex editor first, usually, because sometimes you can see where to start first, where the interesting points are in the file. And I also want to show you that .NET assemblies have a very typical area in the file, and this is this area. It's full of ASCII strings, and these are all the method names and library names that are used in the file. So you will find here lots of ASCII strings with method names that are .NET related. And now you can also see already that this file is obfuscated to make it more difficult for us to analyze it, or to evade antivirus products. These are random names, garbage names for functions. After this function name section, you will see lots of Unicode, and these are all the reference strings in a .NET assembly. If you create a string and assign it a certain value, you will this will be saved here. And the thing that stands out to me here is this create instance, because create instance is a method name. You could directly use it in here, so it should be ASCII if you directly used it, but they put it into a string, so I assume that they use the string and reflection to use this method, to call this method, maybe to avoid also antivirus signatures. They had to do it just differently than before, and then such weird things happen. Okay, now let's go and try out DnSpy. DnSpy is a fork of ILSpy, and ILSpy is a decompiler. Now, DnSpy has additionally debugging capabilities. So, like using Ollie for native files, you can use DnSpy to set breakpoints and debug .NET assemblies, which is great. Additionally, before we start debugging, I like to open sysinternet's Process Explorer. If you are running Windows 7 or above for your VM, please run it as administrator. Otherwise, you will not see everything that you might want to see. Yeah, I like to use this on the side to monitor that everything's fine. Okay. Now we will open up our file in here. Debug. not DnSpy, of course. We could also debug DnSpy, but yeah. Debug. Okay, it will immediately start at the main method, or main method it's called, I guess. And here you already see the obfuscated function and class names, so you cannot make any sense out of them. They will just do it this way. And just below there is the call to load raw assembly. So someone provided here, and it's the type is object, but I guess it's a byte array, and loads it into memory at this point. So this is a good candidate for a breakpoint. Let's also look here what we find further, and wow, that's also obfuscated, because there are lots of go-tos in this to other areas, and here is our create instance string, the one that we saw as Unicode in the hex editor. Now, if you click on it, it will be highlighted where this is used. You can also right-click and analyze it. Well, it works for ILSpy. I guess it works here too. Maybe you should have to do it in this area. I'm not sure, but in this case, it's enough to see that it is passed as an argument for this method. Let's see what they do. And here it is. It's like I said, they use reflection to call a method by using the string. The member name is this create instance string. In this case, it was a third argument. So this looks to me like well, we have these two steps. First they will load the assembly, and second they will do this call to a function of this assembly. So it's interesting for us to know what function is called, and for that we might also want to set a breakpoint here. Okay, now we will just run it, and we are here. If we step further, we will have the assembly loaded into memory. Okay, it's again at this point. So now we are in a different spot. Where are we? Alright. Well, nothing has changed here, and I'm not quite sure why we landed here. Let's check this out. Because here's might be that I set a breakpoint. I'm not sure. Okay, anyways, the assembly should load it by now. Should be loaded by now, and we can run MegaDumper. You should also run it as administrator if you use not XP, a higher version of Windows. So MegaDumper also lists all the processes, and here you will also have a marker which processes .NET. By the way, you can also mark this in Process Explorer by the coloring that they use. Might be useful in this case. So here, and now we see that this is a .NET process, but this is actually 2, but it has another color because it is packed. The dark blue means that this file is packed, and this has obviously precedence over the .NET, over the fact that it is .NET. Okay, we can now use this to unpack a dump. The reason doing it this way, breaking and DnSpy and well, you can, in most of the cases, you can actually also run the file, then use MegaDumper and choose the process. But this won't work in all cases. Sometimes you have files that close, that are where the processes don't live very long and not long enough for you to click on MegaDumper and dump it. And also, if you use the DnSpy to check what it's doing, you will know what function is called or what method is called. You have more control over it. So that's also why I prefer to use the DnSpy this way. Now, MegaDumper made here the dump. This is the original file, and in this unknown name there are some dumps that might be garbage or might be useful. We don't know yet. So we can take a short look into them. Just drag all of them in here. Often, in most cases, the entries that are not garbage are also .NET assemblies. So you just drag them in here and take a look at them. And it seems these are both the same. And here's something interesting. The entry point, it's IE main. I saw this IE string in the hex editor right before the create instance. So could be a method that's also the class it's called. And so what is this? Let's decompile it, and here's some kind of encryption going on. We are still not in the actual raw file, though it's also a module that's used to unpack code. It takes some thing from the resources of the .NET file. It will decrypt or decode them, and it looks like it will also here, like it will also inject the code, or maybe inject is not the right word, but it will definitely use runp to run this packed file that's in this. So interesting. And we know that we are not at the end of unpacking yet. So, but we might see what function is called here. It is called. That's why it's not unpacked while using MegaDumper, because we have not yet called this second layer, the second packed layer. Now it would be interesting to find any values. Sometimes if you hover over them, you will see what value is inside, but that's not the case here. Okay. Oh, I didn't want to go in there. Now the interesting thing is, if I run this now, there will probably be another process opening up. So let's just do it, and then use this old-fashioned way of using MegaDumper and too big. Okay, for now nothing is happening, but it's still... That's interesting. Process Explorer doesn't consider it as packed anymore. And now regasm opened. So that's good. Let's dump this one. Okay. And you can also right click here and say go to location. It will always save the dump in the location where the file is. So the dumps are in here. And that's a lot of code, right? There are some dumps duplicated. So this is a library, a legit library actually, for this AFOG, for webcam stuff. But it's also used by rats, by remote access Trojans in this case. So, and this looks like a NanoCore rat. Yeah. Now, I don't want to look through all of these, maybe just one, but I will tell you which file I used here to unpack, so you can try yourself and explore the code that is in this file. Okay, let's open up DnSpy and just, let's say, one or two of these dumped files. This is called client, and it's also obfuscated. If you want the better names, you may be lucky by using d4dot. Yeah, because that's pretty ugly here. And let's see, what else do we have here? Core client plugin. The core client plugin. That's a library. It doesn't have an entry point that I can click. Wouldn't make sense. Yeah. Not much to see due to the obfuscation right now. Actually, I just wanted to show you that this is indeed a rat. So you can believe me. And yeah, here it says NanoCore. This really is a NanoCore rat. So, but feel free to use d4dot on these dumps and explore the code. Might be very interesting. And yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. Have a nice evening or a nice day.